and welcome to Ungimmicked. This is our first part 2 of an episode.
Yeah.
It's our first part
fantastic.
2. We've made it. We've promised so many part 2s, and we finally made one. We have the full crew here today. We are joined by Alex Moreau, Connor McDonald,
Hello.
Matthew O'Neill, Sanjeev Vinod. I'm your host, Gonçalo Souza, and we are back to talk about art and magic, of course. Our topic
What is it?
is magic art. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, go give it a listen because it's the part 1. This one will follow. It's the continuation of our discussion. So let us
That first
continue.
one was a brain number.
Yeah.
Number, I guess.
Yeah. So
Was it very
let's-
interesting? I think you should definitely go give it a listen.
Hopefully you'll get to listen to all the episodes that we've released so far.
Yeah, I don't know if this episode is going to make sense without that one, because I think we're going to draw back and refer
We
to
will.
a lot
I'm
of
sure we
arguments
will.
made.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
So let's converse and discuss. Connor, I know that you want to take us, so go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so I have 2 things I want to say right off the bat. One of them isn't about the topic, but it's about Sanjeev, and all I'm saying is that I've listened to every episode, and I've noticed that he'll say something, and then we get sidetracked from it, and then we always go back to what he said like 10 minutes later, and like
Because
he said
he's
it
a
like
legend.
initially, and I'm just like I listened to the last episode, and I was just like, he literally said this, and he said, well, this is what we need to do if we're gonna move on with the episode, and then like 10 minutes later we finally got back to it, and I'm just like, so anyway, keep your ears open for that one. My second one is that I think I'm just gonna go for it. I think magic can be art if you want it to be. I think it's completely up to who is interpreting it. So if I'm the one that's doing the magic and I think it's art, therefore it's art. But if somebody else is doing magic and I watch it and I don't think it's art, then it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quickly jump in here just to, Matt, I'll head
No,
you right
no,
after.
you're
I'm not
good.
going to
I'm
add to the discussion. I'm just going to hopefully give a sense of direction. So
And then we'll
that
come
is
back
what-
to it
Here
10
it
minutes
is. Here
later.
it is. Yeah, probably. We'll come
Probably,
back
yeah,
to it.
probably. So, last episode, one thing we touched on, which I found fascinating, but again, mind-numbing, was the sense of intention, right? There was a lot of discussion between us and disagreement regarding how intention can define art versus how intention might not define art, and how even if it's not the artist's intention, something could still be art, so on, so on, so on. I want to propose this to you guys and hear your thoughts. I would like if we could limit this discussion to intentional art. By that I mean art where we choose, okay, I want to make this artistic. I'm going to try to make this art. Because I think the unintentional side of art, of other people perceiving it as art, even if we didn't intend it as that, I think that's out of our control. There's nothing we can do about it, and there's no way to apply that to our magic, really. You can't control how someone would unintentionally perceive what you unintentionally did, right? It's out of our hands. And so therefore, I think if we limit to the intentional side of art, which is how do you take something, how artistic do you want it to be, and how do you approach making it more artistic? Does it need to be artistic? Questions like that. I think if we focus on what we can actively do, so I can actively sit and say, this is not artistic, this should be. I want to make this piece more artistic. So a more active approach to it, I think that'll keep us at least, it'll help us from having to define a lot of things, which I think there's no use in us defining.
Definitely. I was thinking about this, and that is such an amazing point, Sanjeev, because I was listening to our recording of the first part, and I was thinking, the question is a little bit misleading itself, because magic, it's not that magic is or isn't art. It could be art if you make it so. If you structure it in a way that makes it artistic versus you doing a packet trick.
It's rude.
Well, but you guys know what I mean by that. I think. I hope.
The trick part of packet trick, yeah.
Let me point out something. 3 of you spoke. Connor said that art is on the side of the receiver. That's how we opened this discussion, or the side of the interpreter. The interpreter decides that is art. But then Sanjeev and Matthew, just on the passing, you guys disagreed entirely. You made the opposite point. Sanjeev, you said, let me try to make this more artistic. This means that there's some understanding of what art is that you have to achieve
I would
and you
just
have to
say
work
that-
towards.
I think interpretation, sure, it is part of the art, but I think there's no use in us discussing that now.
Exactly. It's
Yeah, so it's not
what
within
we
the
can
scope
do.
of this conversation.
It's what can we do, because this is to help magicians, this is to help performers.
Yeah.
A performer can't control how the audience perceives it because they can't control their audience in that way, but what they can control is what they do themselves if they
I
want
agree.
to make what
Okay.
they turn into
Well,
art.
I think there's also a problem in that question, is that although that is a very, like in hindsight, it's a very, very nice thing to think about, but the thing is, art is sort of a byproduct of you making magic most of the time. And you guys know that
What do you mean
when
by
we're
that?
jamming between each other, we try and make it a primary focus. Say, okay, let's make it art by trying to make it say something and eventually make something out of that. But most magic you do, the fact that it's artistic or not, is completely a byproduct of whatever you're doing, where you're doing, etc., etc. So it's really hard for
Okay.
me to just say, let's only talk about intentional art. Because does that just mean like we're only talking about people sitting there saying I'm doing art?
Maybe it's not about intentional art as much as it is figuring out what we can do if we want to make it art to make our pieces meaningful.
I prefer that question as opposed to, what can we do
How
to
can-
I like that.
make it
So
art?
how can we make
Okay.
our pieces meaningful? Maybe
Because
that's a better
eventually, like
question
as a
to ask.
magician, you just want to make like your magic better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point it becomes art, and some tricks are artistic, some aren't, right?
Yeah.
But you don't just go, "Hey, today I'm gonna be an artist." Yep.
Yeah, that does not
I
happen.
don't think that makes
Does not.
much sense.
You just put on a beret and get a paintbrush.
Just kind of happens.
You just turned French. Congratulations.
No, but I think there are things that you study that, or certain tricks or certain plots that you explore that can, using the word never is always hard, but you're gonna have a really tough time making certain tricks or certain plots artistic as compared to others. Some of them, some things are
Explain
more.
that again.
Some plots or some tricks are inherently, in the way I view it, inherently more on the non-artistic side or more on the trick side, and there are other things that it's easier for you to extrapolate that artistic side through your mat, or the byproduct is easier to come about.
I that's something very interesting because as you were saying, I was obviously just going through examples in my head.
Yeah.
So we watch so much magic, we have a pretty large population on which we can run our stats, right? As the thing, okay, artistic. Let's take a trick that everybody does, like ambitious card. Ambitious. I have seen awful ambitious cards.
Yeah.
I have seen
I think-
good, not very
We all have,
entertaining
yeah.
ambitious cards.
Yeah.
I have seen, and also I have seen, like ambitious cards that just gave me chills. And if you guys want a couple of examples, because I know a couple of people might be down here, David Ben, absolutely.
Who is? Oh wow.
Well, you don't know who? Oh God, we have to talk.
I'll look it up right after this, dude. Yeah.
You can also watch Andrew Frost's version, which is fabulous. That I love doing. It's a very good approach. But all I mean is like, although there's not like okay, Triumph, same shit. You can have a casual Triumph. You shuffle and boom, they're all the same way, right? And then there's like the Triumphs like possible. It's a chaos to order, and it's got a very deep meaning.
Yeah.
I could say the same thing about probably cups and balls, linking rings, etc., which sort of makes me believe, I'm going to put the hypothesis forward, I can't really prove it, but let me put the hypothesis forward. All the tricks that are considered, I think to make a trick be one of the greats, one of the all-time best tricks, is the one that gives it leeway to be artistic and to not be artistic. Like very few tricks that people
Interesting.
don't consider like all-time classics don't have that flexibility. And I'm sort of going through my head thinking if I can find an example of a trick that is considered amongst magicians like an all-time classic or that sort of thing, where you can't make it artistic.
Okay.
Let me just to finish what my
Go for
point.
it.
I fully agree with what you're saying. I hadn't thought of it that way, and now that I'm going through my mind, the first you talked on cups and balls, my mind went to chop cup. You have certain chop cup routines that are purely tricks, just magic for the sake of magic, of fooling or whatever.
Demonstrations a lot of
Yeah,
times.
exactly. Or you can, but I've seen some that do that little extra spin. You know, that they approach it a different way that makes you think a different way. Your analysis is very interesting, Alex, and I like what you're saying very much.
Cups and balls, blah 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 blah, do whatever. It's not about like going all emotional and everything. Penn and Teller made those cups clear. to me, it made it artistic because they were breaking that fourth wall, bringing people into the way secrets and everything.
Okay.
So all I mean is
That's kind of a
being,
fifth wall.
being artistic doesn't mean necessarily being emotional. I just wanted to draw that line. I'm so sorry for taking so
Interesting,
much time
Matt.
to talk. But
Quick
hey,
point. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
It's
Matt.
kind of a fifth wall
that is
because-
a very good point.
because you're already talking to the audience directly. That's a fourth wall break, and now you're going into the secrets. That's cool to think about. I like that. But I feel like we can take this one level deeper, which is I was thinking how you were talking about all these things that you do that turn pieces artistic, and how do we do that? Because I know all of us have been able to make various pieces
Alex, don't do it.
artistic.
Intention.
Tent. Yes.
Boom.
Yes. Intention, of course. And I just had an idea. This could be totally wrong, or for of like a practical suggestion of what to do, or of what
Go on.
one could do.
What is
and
your
what I-
favorite piece of art? Go on your bed right now, turn off your music, your screens, think of your favorite piece of art. Think why it's your favorite piece of art, and maybe you can take a couple of pointers there. And every couple of days before going to sleep, think of a piece of art. Grab a couple pointers. I'll write those down in a note. Eventually, you got that pointers coming back and forth. Maybe those can help you build directions.
Yeah.
I would extend that. Actually, Matt, finish your point, and then
Yeah,
I'll
I wanted to
get
say. I wanted to say this. I would have wrote down: find something that you notice and perceive to be true, and talk about it tastefully through the maximum potential your craft can reach.
Repeat that, please. What?
It's
Okay,
it's
that's-
I,
it was
I,
way
I,
That's
too
my
I, need, I
complicated
need I
mind.
need you to repeat as well, but it sounds a bit too wordy and too philosophical.
Okay, that's just the way my brain
Say it,
works.
say
I
it,
like
say
the
it.
complicated stuff, but basically,
Unnecessarily complicating stuff? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. Okay, but
Yeah, dumb it down for us commoners.
okay, find something true that you see. That you notice to be true, that you notice to be real.
That's vague.
Obviously, it's vague because
And-
it's
and I
it
don't
could
think
be
it's
anything.
I
think
think
it's
you could
accurate.
you could
Oh, I thought you were gonna have a second half to that.
I was.
there is
Yeah,
a second
but
half
Alex
to that.
Oh, there is a
refuses
second
to
half?
allow second halves.
I'm sorry. If your premise is wrong, you can't just go from there.
All right, go. Honestly, though, when Alex said his thing, I liked it better, and that was sort of a correct version of what I was trying to get at. So
I'm
it's,
sorry. I feel like I'm genuinely being a on a lot of these podcasts.
yes, you
And,
are.
I mean, for all the auditors out there, I'm a little bit of the when we discuss about like magic because I just like pushing things and making people uncomfortable for them to focus on stuff. I'm a quite likable guy in real life. I'm pretty chill. But in this podcast, I think I sort of have to play the role of people going, no, that premise is wrong. That word is not accurate. So, yeah, I just think that it can also be an interesting approach. Is, hey, take something you know is false. I mean, why wouldn't that work?
Take
That
something
that
Okay,
works because it's
real
true that it's
quick.
false.
It works
Real
better.
quick, Matt, can I hear the second half of whatever you're gonna say?
I really appreciate that you're so interested in what I have to say, Sanjay.
I just want to get out of the way so we
Okay.
can go.
Essentially,
Just trying to move on.
I think a big caveat of this is tastefully through the maximum potential that your craft can reach.
What does
Essentially,
that mean, dude?
putting because the thing is, if you do something that's right, if you do something artistic with, as it was mentioned in the previous episode, with poor execution, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically pushing yourself that you and your craft, because I can't do what music does as a magician, but I can do what magic does that music
Okay.
can't do.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
so it's saying
Yes.
look at art, what you consider as art, and then like as what you know to be true. Look at art, and then look at it through the eyes of a magician, or look at it through magic
Not necessarily.
interesting.
Express it in the best way that you can, because I, as a
with
magician,
magic.
will be able to express it with magic, while a musician will be able to express it with music, or a painter will express it through his painting.
To me, it seems like
Through
a
your
medium,
craft. Gotcha.
right?
I get it. I get
Like,
that.
I just
Say
think
what
that-
you want to say, but through the medium of your craft, right? So say it through magic, almost as a language.
Thing is, I think before expressing it, I think you also need to like express it yourself without those filters. Like it's very easy for people to just skip steps, right? And just okay,
Yeah.
I want to say this. How do I say it with magic? Well, I would maybe say it's maybe a good idea to just take magic out of it just for a second, and just express it with no limits, and then
Of
try to
course.
see how many limits magic puts on that. Just don't try to stuff something through the lens of magic. I think you just first try to express it as best you possibly can, and then see what magic adds to that and what magic takes away from that, as music and as drawing, as posing, as dancing, as whatever.
Okay, I think I'm getting it now. So what I think that I'm just trying to clarify for my own personal
No, go
sake,
for
what
it.
we're trying to get at is look at something that you consider as art, and then think about. I'm okay. I got lost when Alex said that last part. I thought I had it.
I think what Matthew essentially meant is try to push the expression of something you believe or think, essentially, right, Matthew?
Yes.
Okay.
And
then put it into whatever art.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Because do whatever art that you do. Because obviously, if I had a great idea for a novel. Thing is, I'm not a novelist, so I told my novelist friend about it, and he liked the idea, essentially, because I can't write a novel. Maybe I can do the sentiment in the thing that I am able to do, which is magic.
Okay.
Hey
essentially.
Matt, if you had to like take words away from that, what would it become? Because I think honestly, if you can take that whole expression and make it
Use your craft.
okay.
To do what?
After you said, what I would say is push expression.
Good. That's 2 words as opposed to 3.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think
I guess.
tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely
No,
missing
that's
your point.
pinpointing it.
But I think the whole point is like all your standard expression, just push it, and you'll just understand new things, and just push it to the point. Like even when you think you've pushed all the way, try push some more.
I like that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think
I like that idea.
that's a very interesting way to. That's a great.
And I think it's as back to what your first point. It's a good intent to have. I think
absolutely.
it's the intent of. Oh, I keep remembering the name, but you and I talk about it all the time. The Greek myth pushing the boulder up the mountain. Remind
Dude,
me of the name.
Sisyphus.
Yeah,
Sisyphus,
dude.
exactly.
Sisyphus.
It's literally taking his role and then choosing to enjoy that process.
I mean, you have to imagine Sisyphus happy. Albert Camus.
Camus. Dude, Camus messes with my mind, dude. Ah,
Is it Camus? Am I gonna get roasted by viewers because it's not Camus? And is it Camus or Sartre? One of the two.
No,
want me to
Camus
look it
wrote The Myth of Sisyphus.
Yeah, but just the sentence of you have to imagine Sisyphus. It's
Imagine
probably,
happy. I don't remember.
Wait, did you say Camus wrote the myth of Sisyphus?
Do we want to fact check this
Hold
right
on,
now?
hold on.
Yeah, definitely, because that
If
myth.
we're
I
Because
believe-
yeah,
that feels
my
much
boys.
more
Look it
ancient
up.
than Camus'
Yeah.
The
time.
Myth of Sisyphus, novel by Albert Camus, 1942 philosophical essay.
So it's probably in the book, so it's probably Camus. But I really like that
yeah, it is.
idea
Interesting.
of
Very interesting.
although it's sort of this inevitable process where you seem like you're just pushing more, and every time you push more, it seems to like open more doors, and so you have to push in more. Well, it's not about it being daunting; it's about it being.
The beautiful thing about it is it's fun.
the very reason Sisyphus pushes up that boulder is like it's what he does essentially.
Yeah.
So enjoying
Interesting.
that process might be reward of its own.
I'll add something here from something I listened to recently that actually really hit. It was a TED Talk from a man named Mark Rober, ex-NASA engineer for like 9 years, and now he builds like really cool things at home. Really cool things.
He's a
Just go
YouTuber
check
now.
it. Yeah,
Great
he's a
guy,
YouTuber.
great channel.
Yeah,
That's a
also
recommendation
so many
in the middle of
joke
the episode.
opportunities there, from NASA engineer to YouTuber, but he owns it, man. What a guy! And his TED Talk was on what he dubbed the Super Mario effect, and the concept is basically life gamification, approaching pursuit and approaching pushing things forward as a game. And it is very difficult for me, especially. It's been really easy for me to get bogged down when I think, oh, every time I think I'm getting better at magic, now there's just so many more options that I could be doing that I'm not doing, right? And as you learn more, you become more aware of how little you have learned and how much more you have left to learn. And we here enjoy the process so much, right? To the point where unfortunately it almost doesn't mean anything anymore because it's everywhere. But a way that I've interpreted, which has been helpful in very recent times, is seeing it as that game. You are pushing forward. You are just trying to get to the next level. You are not losing because you are not farther along. Where you are is where you are. Feel solid for how far you've come. Don't feel bad because you are not somewhere up there that you could be, because you're getting there. You know?
It's a solution
moving
for being
towards it.
demoralized by the Dunning-Kruger effect.
I don't know that effect, but it is demoralized. You're right. That's a good word.
Dunning-Kruger effect is people that don't know much think they know a lot, and vice versa. I'm dumbing it down even more,
Yeah.
which makes me a little bit of a Dunning-Kruger subject.
Yeah,
Nice.
what it is basically and then we'll do the break so I can solo. Is somebody who's sort of getting into it, feels like they know so much about it, but then an expert who knows much more realizes that he knows nothing.
You summarized that perfectly. Then it is demoralization caused by
correct.
The
So that is a
half of
possible
effect,
solution
sure.
for that, which is nice, and it's sort of like cool that we've got there.
Yeah.
and before I bother everybody with our social media, let me add another parallel to what you guys are saying, or another metaphor. Knowledge in a way is kind of like a balloon. What you know is the surface area. What you don't know is the volume. And the more you learn, the more you inflate the balloon.
Oh, interesting.
The more the surface area. But at the same time, the greater the volume.
That's surprising.
So the more you know, the more you don't know.
And if it's
That
red,
plays
it gives a good artistic image.
Thank you, Matthew.
nice
That was
note,
perfect.
and,
That's the perfect segue.
Here's another metaphor. Subscribe.
That's the end of
Subscribe
it,
to
yeah.
our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ungimmicked.
Ungimmicked.
We are on facebook.com/ungimmicked, but the best way to come in contact with us is on Instagram @ungimmicked. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your opinions on the topics that we're discussing, on other topics that you'd like us to discuss. Come and chat with us. We are also on Patreon, patreon.com/ungimmicked. We have already used the funds you have not given us yet to get Alex an haircut.
Yes.
So
Alex,
look
if
at
you
that.
are,
Alex got his haircut.
and
that
we
is
are all in
nice.
debt for it.
Yes, of
Grateful
course.
debt for sure. But still
Yeah, these
debt.
guys like, wow, there was like a 15-year-old dude a week ago, and now he's no longer there. What?
He is 22 again. It's okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's getting there.
do I need to say anything else?
Just breather cream, dude.
I think
Take it away.
I think I've said everything.
Have you-
Cool.
are you gonna
So
spell
let's UNGIMMICKED ungimmicked.
Dude, I just imagine someone like huddled over in a corner of the room, and as you spell, they're typing like UNGI, and they're rewinding. Oh, I couldn't get it otherwise.
Is there a D?
gotta
I don't
wait
even
for next
know.
week now.
Yeah, honestly, why should people donate to our Patreon?
No, because we're in debt. We need.
We're in debt.
We're in debt.
I was gonna start like holding playing cards hostage and be like, you better donate right now.
one every episode. The 6 of clubs goes first. Yeah.
Nobody cares about the 6 of clubs. They won't donate.
Oh, jeez. That actually got
Gentlemen,
dark. Wow.
we have our breather cream today, presented by Mr. Connor McDonald.
Yes, Connor. Yes.
So I was doing a lot of thinking, and this is something that I wish I had found before I took my deep dive into magic initially. Is a magician by the name of Levant. And I want you to go to his website. You can look into his material. I think it's good. But if you go to levantmagic.com, he has magic products for sale. And I think that everyone should go check these out because he has a bunch of DVD sets on just classic magic tricks, like the classics, like the salt pour, Miser's Dream, color changing silk, billiard balls, the linking rings, like all of these things that I think people should know, magicians should know. And it's not cheap. These things aren't cheap. I think the Miser's Dream DVD set's like $60, but I think you should go check them out and give them a try because I think these are just classics that everyone should know.
Thank you, Connor. So it's right from there. You were talking about the classics. We touched on that in the first half. How some of or how Alex said how the classics are the ones that have the opportunity of just being magic for the sake of magic and of actually being artistic. So let me urge our viewers then.
I don't want to stand by those words. That was a hypothesis. You know, seriously.
Okay.
Scientific process. You observe a trend, you put forward a hypothesis, and then you check it until you get it wrong.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we can get that one wrong pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, when I see the linking rings, when you see that piece of metal penetrating through another piece of metal, God,
ring.
I just
Matt,
melt, man.
You
It's
just
unbelievable.
quoted Patter from half the magicians who do the linking rings.
That is the most
Oh my
famous.
gosh.
And they melt through each other like 2 rings of smoke. Which was a wonderful line
sounded
when not
surprisingly
everyone
okay.
used it.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, that actually sounded nice.
But why,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
even with the linking rings, because now I'm Alex, you posed your hypotheses as a counterexample to something I said, and I dropped my point to agree with you. So now I'm the big savior, I'm the big defender of this hypothesis.
Would it be
But the linking
impressive
rings,
if you
let me
linked
make my point
a
on the
steel
linking
ring
rings.
onto a smoke ring?
Would you please stop, Matthew?
Sorry.
Interrupted Gonzalo
Wait,
to
no.
to say that.
Well, I thought it was important.
No, you didn't.
Well, it could be
Okay,
like those vape
okay.
smoke rings, you know. What
I know. I was gonna say if it doesn't disperse, that's actually impressive. But also, why? Just why?
I'm sorry, Gonzalo, continue.
Still on
Real-
the linking rings, I
after
want to
Gonzalo.
talk about one of my favorite linking rings routines, Mike Cavaney's linking coat hangers.
That was at Tannins, right?
We saw it.
He's been doing it for the past
Yeah, he
50
presented
years.
on it at Tannins.
He might have. I missed that.
Yeah, he
guy.
did.
Um,
He did. I didn't see that one.
But the linking coat hangers is the same effect as the linking rings. This different approach that he does just using coat hangers instead of rings make it art? No, not necessarily. But it's that pushing of the boundaries of the art that you were touching on, Matthew, and using these classics, these bases that has been true to magicians for so long, that we might actually push the boundaries of the art, in a way.
I get what you're saying, but I think with this example, it seems more of he's just putting his own creative spin on it rather than making it art. But
Yeah, I don't think it's art just because they're coat hangers instead of rings.
Okay.
I think that it's a step closer to I think it's his artistic interpretation of the linking rings.
Okay.
Or it could be his artistic interpretation of the linking rings.
Yeah. Again, I have not personally seen the routine. I don't know if any of you have. So we'd have to see the routine to guess. But I really want to connect this to a sentence Matt said earlier, which I really love, and I'd actually really like for us to focus on more too, about how can you make your magic more meaningful? Because that's a tough question, right?
Yeah, that's
I
a whole
remember-
episode, maybe.
Yeah, I remember Alex's 10 steps process, which we've touched on earlier. Don't want to touch on it more now because Alex, you phrased it beautifully. Then there's nothing to
I
add.
think it was
Um,
the characterization episode.
or inspiration, something like that. One of those.
It was
One of those.
inspiration.
Oh,
that was
was?
great.
Okay.
It was inspiration.
But it is very tough to jump from, for example, to quote an extreme, like performing tricks out of the bag, and from that to start thinking about intent, right? So that was a very difficult transition for me. And one thing that I heard often that actually really helped me a lot is decide what it means to you. And that's a great starting point to making something meaningful, because the moment you find what makes it meaningful to you, why you like it, what meaning you
moment
see
you
in
know.
it, beyond it just being a trick, the moment you
Yeah.
identify that, and now the next step is communicating that. And I think if something is meaningful to you and you can communicate why it's meaningful to you, I care about it now because I care about you as a performer, right? And so something that you care about, and if you can express to me why you care about it, I now secondarily care. And so I would like to see that. And I think that that's a first step, right? Thinking and being self-aware and being able to identify what something means to you.
Is it the first step? It's a damn good step. I'm just wondering, is it the first step?
What's before that other than like learning the trick? And you perform it enough so
That's
that you
true.
can identify what it means to you. You don't know it when you look at it out of the bag, right?
Also, there is a trap that you don't want to fall into because I
Right.
know certain performers, they think about trying to be artistic. So what they do is they don't learn magic because they try to make everything original. Being able to take your
yeah,
artistic vision and apply it to a knowledge of a lot of things is much more useful. For example, I talked to Alex, and obviously he's been in the magic scene much longer than I have, so he's knows a lot more. So I'm able to take certain ideas to him, and he'll be like, "Oh, I remember I read this 5 years ago. This works perfectly for it." See what I mean?
See, again,
Just
that connects,
studying.
Okay.
Yeah, it connects to me that magic as language metaphor, where the more knowledge you acquire, the more learning you do. Now you have the vocabulary so that later on when you want to convey a message, you just take the words that you know, put it together, and now you have a sentence that you can actually communicate to someone.
Have you said that on the podcast before?
No.
I don't remember that. Okay, you're very good.
Earlier today.
I love
earlier
that.
today. Yeah.
I think that like that part of like just knowing enough so that you can reference thing, I think points back more to the craft side of magic, where
That's
we just
true.
sort of perfect it and then learn how to transmit it to other people and make sure they can learn it. I don't think that touches on the art part, but yes, I
But
do believe you need.
effectively honing your craft is extremely beneficial to creating
Yeah,
That's
once
good
again,
art.
some people would. If I wanted to be a dick, I would say, yeah, you don't necessarily need it to create art, and I'd be right saying that. But the thing
Yeah.
is, you can't just go over saying people don't practice your craft because it doesn't directly help your art. Well, yeah, it does. It does.
It does.
So I think you absolutely do need, technical foundation, intellectual foundation, effect foundation, historical
Friends,
foundations, etc.,
to-
etc.
to people to talk to helps.
Yeah, but and just to
I
go
thought
back,
you just said friends.
and you do need friends. You absolutely do need friends, like a social. Social
It's
foundation.
collaborative. Yeah.
But just to come back to the example, I wasn't too big of a fan of the example of the linking rings because, like, making coat hangers link to one another as opposed to making rungs of metal link to one another, none of those has more potential than the other to be artistic.
Unless it
Not by
means
itself.
more to that person, right? For some reason, if he like, if Cavani, again, we're completely hypothesizing here because I have not unfortunately seen the routine. If Cavani worked for 30 years at a dry cleaner's place, and now he shows me what he would do with the hangers in his free time, now to me, boom, there's meaning.
Not inherently. There's meaning, but it doesn't make it inherently art.
If he communicates that, now he's saying something.
Yeah, okay,
and then to
I
me,
see what
it
you
would
mean,
be
but
art.
I mean, like, the process of going from rings to coat hangers
Does nothing. Yeah.
could be a potential step. But inherently, if you just take from a neutral standpoint and go, either I go linking rings or linking coat hangers, which one should I do to be more artistic? I think that's a stupid
No, that's
question.
that's what I was saying in the beginning.
But that's not the
more of just a
question.
creative twist on an original effect.
Yeah, exactly.
That
So
has
I just
nothing
didn't
to do
like
with
the
art
example
form.
of going,
But it's-
art. He made it art by making. I don't
That's
agree.
true. Yeah. The thing
But
is,
it's
we don't
what
want to
you do
confuse
with
people
it.
listening to it.
Okay, that's fair. So
By
it's a
the
good
way, if you're listening and you
clarification, I think.
haven't watched that routine, I beg, just go watch. It's a wonderful routine.
Great
and
routine.
you know what? If you know linking rings, it'll still fry you.
True.
Nice. Okay, see, again, I would add that our pursuit should not be, and I hope we've not communicated it should be to viewers, it should not be, how do I make this art and unique and creative? Our intent is not to say, okay, you sit down with a piece and you think, oh, how do I make this creative and original? Because now you're just forcing things. When you think of how much it means to you and then extrapolate from there, when you think from your intent outwards, now you're never going to get to the point of, oh, let me just substitute in this prop for the heck of substituting the prop. If you even get to the point of, oh, I should use this other thing because it means more to me, now there's a logical step there. It's not for the sake of being artistic. The art is a byproduct.
You sort of get to that point when you start thinking about images.
Images are great. I love
Yeah, I
images.
mean,
Images
just
are
to
great.
take back an
Images.
analogy we
Kiko
had.
Pastur. Oh, imagine the world where there is no time.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
His
great
voice.
No,
I love
just
his
to take
voice.
back an example we used earlier. Sisyphus doesn't stop halfway up the mountain, drop his boulder, and goes to check a gravel next to it. The process that makes it creative is the fact that he keeps pushing the boulder forward.
Good metaphor.
Wait, imagine the image of Sisyphus just halfway up. I don't know why that just like hit me. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, but
Well,
the
he's
thing is,
he's
so-
always halfway up.
Yeah, he is.
Theoretically.
I thought
Well, anyway,
he, like-
that's not
yeah.
really the point. The point is, like, you were saying, oh, just going, like, putting stuff on the desk in front of, like, a blank sheet of paper and just going, oh, I'm going to be creative. Well, you just stop pushing your boulder in order to try something else. I think as long as you keep pushing the boulder, which means thinking, living life, enjoying things, that's what fuels, I believe, a good part of the artistic process, or can potentially fuel more effectively than sitting in front of a blank page. Although that might occasionally work.
It's tough though.
It is very
what, the
tough.
block, right? Writer's block, any block, I think it extends
So-
everywhere.
So I want to bring this up. I'm not exactly too sure how relevant this is, and I
Go on.
was gonna save this for like a recommendation, but I think this is a great time to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading this. I'm doing this course,
Mhm.
and it's called The Artist's Way, and it is called The Spiritual Guide to Higher Creativity, and it's a 12-week course that you do. I have the book right here,
Interesting.
and it is quite literally a class that you're holding yourself accountable to. There's really no one forcing you to do anything. You sign a stupid contract. It's not stupid. You sign a contract in the beginning, but no one forces you to do anything. But it's trying to help you, the artist, be more creative. And you have to do homework and all these things, and you have to do homework. And I think the two most important things that we have to do morning pages, where every morning you have to get up and write 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wake up, you don't go on your phone. I use the restroom sometimes because I just can't hold it. And then you just have to write 3 pages of stream of consciousness.
Mm.
And it really forces yourself to like dig deep into your brain because you just wake up.
Yeah.
And it is tough. It is tough. And then the second thing.
I'm sorry. Go for it.
Oh
I'm sorry.
no! And then I was gonna say the second thing you have to do is you have to go on an artist date, and what that means is that you have yourself, I, Connor McDonald, and then I have my artist self,
Oh, that's great.
and I have to take that artist on a date once a week, and whether that be 15 minutes in an antique shop or watching a 2.5-hour movie by myself,
That's
I have to
great.
do that, and you have to do it by yourself. You can't take anyone with you, and it forces your. So basically, what happens is you take stuff out of the pool in the morning pages, but then you put in stuff into the pool when you do the artist date.
That's great.
And then when you're doing the creative process, you
It's kinda
pull from that pool and from those experiences. And then it's just this rinse and repeat cycle.
I like that very much.
Just as a quick add-on to that, a reference to an earlier episode too, with ideation, with regards to that process, dude, 100% quantity over quality. Yeah, stream of consciousness, 3 pages, write down ideas every day. They're not going to be all good. That's just not possible.
No.
But then you find gems there. I'm sure, Connor, when you go back and look at those morning pages, you see like a line here, something there that's like, oh, that's a gem. That's I can use, right?
Yeah, I didn't accidentally, but I was just writing through a problem I had. I was working through I was working through my Arrowhead routine, and I was just thinking like, gosh, how am I going to connect these two things? What about this? And then just subconsciously something just popped up, and I'd solved a different problem. Still with my magic act that I was working on, but a problem that I wasn't actively thinking about. And I mean, it is working for me at least.
So waking up in the morning, going to sleep, and showering are when I solve problems. Seriously, like
Well, yeah.
yesterday, boys,
Dude,
I was
get
literally in the
calls from
shower.
Alex. Yeah.
I was in the shower, just not thinking about anything, just listening to music, vibing, and it just hits me. And like later that night, I called Sadia. It's 2 a.m. here. I called Sadia. Hey, I think I figured something out. Let's just talk. Let's just bounce it back and forth. And I did with Matthew as well. As soon as I got out of the shower.
What a great idea, by the
That's
way.
cool. But so that's I wasn't going in the shower going, okay, how am I going to express this? I'm just taking my shower, like, and it just hits you. It's pretty crazy, like, what's going on up there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think as we discussed, one thing that comes out is how passive this art creation process can be.
Yeah, and
Well,
as soon as it gives you an ammunition, fucking fire it.
Yeah.
Find walls to bounce it against. So you get sort of that
Yeah.
passive thing, and then you just throw it, and if it sticks to the wall, well, just keep going. And if it falls down, just let it be on the floor.
It's like working out. I mean, bodybuilders, they'll spend 2 hours in the gym, but they'll spend 6-7 hours eating, you know?
What would you know?
What? Because
Have
I
you
just
seen?
people who are
Have you
bodybuilders.
seen Matt's calves?
Giant-
Yo,
Enormous.
Big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens. All right, but no,
Okay.
but seriously though,
Yeah.
it's building muscle is also just the same thing. It's a lot more passive than people realize. They think, oh, I'm just gonna hit the gym every day, but if your diet isn't good, nothing's gonna happen.
I'm just figuring out, like, this is pure curiosity. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
while we're talking about bodybuilders. Let's say you have 2 bodybuilders. They have the exact same, I hate saying the same genes. I know that's been scientifically really critiqued. But if they're like the same person, just split into 2 realities, they do the same exercises, same time of the day, they eat the same thing. You just copy and paste that life, right? But one of them is, like, their way of thinking is just drastically different about the way they're doing it and what they're thinking. Is there an observable difference?
There might be, because there's so much subconscious stuff going on, and it's like a placebo effect.
Dude, this would be. We should talk to psychologists about this, or psychiatrists.
Good idea. Unfortunately, Gonzalo got disconnected, so we have to try to scramble to finish the episode on
We're
our own.
not
It's
scramling. we are.
No,
we are
I feel
just
like
pushing that rock up the
We know
mountain.
the routine now.
the funny thing is, it's like without Gonzalo, it's like we're lost. We lost our mom in Target, and
But
and
we're
like,
still in
oh,
like the toy section where it doesn't
That's
matter.
true.
if
We're
they're
all
just
just
Yeah.
looking at the toys.
Wow.
Just like, okay.
we're playing the display video game, whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about, or not? I don't care.
Real quick,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground and actually
Yes.
come up with, I think, some of the most insightful stuff we have on this podcast.
This is
I love it.
practical.
Great discussion. to tie like it together and both back to the art, I think our consensus is one we touched on earlier in the episode as well, that magic can be art, right? There is no should. And like Alex brought up, it's not even worth categorizing anything here as shoulds because counterexamples are just too easy to find. Alex, I love the point that you made that classics are deemed maybe by their versatility, and how many different approaches you can take when addressing them, right? And regarding making magic more meaningful, we touched on a lot of stuff as well. That active process of thinking of what the piece means to you, and that doesn't come immediately. That doesn't come when you take it out of the box. It comes when you perform it over and over and then sit and do the hard thinking of, yeah, this is a cool trick. Yeah, I like the effect. Yeah, I like the climax. Yeah, there's a great kicker, whatnot. None of that matters. What does this piece mean specifically to me? And then conveying that meaning. Connor, what do you have to add on that?
Well, that's what I was trying to get at the beginning of the podcast. Like what you like, I'm not trying to be annoying, and I'm not trying. I'm not trying to pull a Sanjeev, but it was just it was explained way better than I did. I hadn't fully formulated that thought. I had tried to write through it a little bit and see if I could think it out, but I couldn't formulate it right. But that's kind of what I was trying to say in the beginning, where magic can be art if you want it to be so. You know, it doesn't have to be. It could be. You know,
and even if you want it to be, it doesn't make it art.
Yeah.
And we talked about concrete steps through the episode that you can actually take.
And by the
to
way,
get on
Sanjeev,
that path.
though, just the way you said that classics thing that we were talking about earlier, just made you realize, like, usually people say, classics, people have been doing them forever. I think what we said is essentially just the zoom back version of that. Then standing the test of time is just them standing up to the necessary versatility of the changing world.
Yeah,
because there's so many different musicians over
now,
time.
as we just take it from one axis back to two axes, right? Now
Yeah.
we're going, but that constraint isn't only time; it's also the versatility and the approaches and the performers and all of that, right? Which is really cool.
Classics are classics for a reason.
Yeah,
That's true.
study them.
Songs are popular
But
for a
not
reason.
the reason most people think.
Exactly.
Well,
I think
yeah,
people misunderstand that and missay
Yeah.
it. And so
That's great.
So here we might need to edit what I'm about to say, because there's a last. I'm missing one part to it, which Sanjeev said earlier, when he was talking about the Super Mario effect, and he had just had a sequence of words that was perfect, and essentially I try to cramp all the meaning I could into like very short sentences, right? Like we talked in previous episode, just taking words out, and this is essentially what I came up with to express ideas. Pushing expression. Embracing mediocrity.
Okay.
Working hard.
Yeah.
I should probably put the emphasis on working and not hard on that one.
Yeah.
And there's this last one that Sanjeev had the perfect verb there. And I just can't remember it. So I'm going to be watching the recording instantly
What was it about?
just to find it.
What was it
it?
about?
Let's try to
So
figure
you were
it out.
saying, just talk about the Paper Mario effect for a bit.
Life gamification, and it's not about always advancing to the next level. Be happy for where you are. Be happy for all the levels you've crossed, and then look out at what is left, and don't worry about how you're not already there. Understand that as you keep
Enjoy
moving
the
forward, you will
process.
get there. I definitely did not.
It might be that. It might be that. Like,
Well, if that's the sentiment, I think we can hit that. and then we'll
although
correct it.
this might not be the perfect verb and anything, and that verb Sanjeev used earlier, just to take a couple of words away, it takes that. So if you're listening, I'm sure that if it really hit
Splice
you
it
when I
in,
heard it.
Find
worst
it.
case, yeah. I'll
Yeah,
go splice it
exactly.
in.
But just so if I had to bring that together, it would be so pushing expression, embracing mediocrity, working hard, and enjoying the process.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we
you,
have
Matt.
to do the assembly.
Oh, the assembly.
Let's hit that.
Yeah, I believe it is me, and I was about.
Oh yeah,
because I was-
presented by Alexandre Moreau.
Thank you so much. There's so much to talk about with art, and we touch on so many subjects like creativity and drive and intention, and there's so much. And I could recommend a million things. But I want to focus on actually something we talked about, I believe, in the first episode, and even in previous, I think in very first episode of Ungimmicked, which is
We can
the
say
NEAT
that.
review. I
Ah,
already talked about it, and they
Oh.
actually, but since the last time we talked about it, they released their third volume, so you can get a subscription, and it's like three books per year, and I'm subscribed to it, and they'll just send it to your place. And so it's a review. It's not a journal. It's just like a sort of review that contains magic scarcely, but a lot of like culture and views and arts and everything. So the idea is crossing different arts, and I think they treated the subject so well of art, and so I would suggest just grabbing all the previous issues and reading through them, because there's a lot of, is magic art? How is it an art? How is it a craft? And there's so many good. So some examples that I took were, I'm completely unshameful to admit it, from there. And I think it'll give you a lot more. And avid listeners might be thinking, wait a second, this is supposed to be the assembly. It is not supposed to be about magic. Should it be? I'm like, yeah, it isn't. And that's what it's so good. The Neat Review isn't a magic magazine, isn't a magic book. It's just a wonderful condensed of arts and crafts put together. It's very insightful, and it's a beautiful project, and I would encourage you to support it. And just know that everything you put into the project, you will get back tenfold, just in terms of creative juices, and just having those pretty pictures sit on your shelf.
How much is it?
So it's the Neat Review. I believe it's £30. It's the creators are British. It's £30 per issue, and so for £90 a year, they will send all 3 issues to wherever you want automatically. So the very first one was about London, their hometown, I believe. The second was about New York City. Wonderful. There's an interview with Aussie and everyone. And anyway, I'm losing names here. And the third one just came out is on Tokyo.
Ooh.
And we're not very.
Oh, you were talking about that.
I was.
And the Japanese coin magicians.
Yeah, the thing is, we don't know much about Japanese magicians, and because of my subscription, it was automatically shipped to France because I moved so much. I was scared of like having it shipped somewhere I no longer live. So as soon as I get back to France, there's gonna be that sitting right at my desk, and
That's pretty beautiful.
I'm really close to just buying it right now, a second copy, so I can read it right now. But I think I'm gonna push myself to wait for coming back.
All right, we do have to wrap this up, though. Great recommendation. I'm going to be sort of taking over Gonzalo. So, Ungimmicked, UNG, shoot.
No! Oh my god.
UNGIMMICKED, Ungimmicked. This was previously Gonzalo Sosa, Matthew O'Neill, Sanjeev Vinod, Connor McDonald, Alex Barreau. Follow us on social media. Please give us money. And
donate.
You don't have to give us money. You really don't.
But most importantly, tell a friend if they would find this insightful, if they'll find this helpful. If they're any sort of performing art, doesn't have to be magic. And I think that's it. Gentlemen, this was Ungimmicked. Thank you for watching.